Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the new Pat McGrath 6-pan eyeshadow palette. It is called the Rose Decadence palette, and I'm going to be giving you some swatches, some details on this palette, give you my thoughts on it. We'll do a demo of this eye look, and then we're going to be comparing it to some other Pat McGrath palettes, see if this is something that you'll want to purchase for yourself. So first off, it is $65. I purchased this off of the Sephora site. It got here very quickly. It got here in 2 days. I used the flash 2-day shipping. So I was happy with that. And it is, you know, her typical 6-pan eyeshadow palette. And she has switched over it now to this packaging where it does not have that button string closure with the elastic band. It just has like a magnetic lid here. And I don't know why this packaging seems a little bit cheaper to me, because I was looking at the Star Wars 6-pan palette that has the same just kind of magnetic closure, no button string or anything. And this I don't remember registering as like being cheap in particular. I mean, they're both cardboard and this is like just like a paper kind of cover, but there's something about, I don't know if you can see, this one is like shiny while this one has like a matte finish. And I just feel like it just, I don't know, it just looks kind of cheap, like at the seams and like the fold here. It just, I don't know. I think I'm being nitpicky. It's basically the same packaging. It's a cardboard outer package. It has this like plastic insert in here, and then you have the 6 shades. So it also comes with a big mirror on the inside, which has a plastic sticker on top. So let's remove that together. You guys know the joy that this brings me. And again, as usual, it comes with like the names of the shades on a plastic sheet that sits right on top. So let's go ahead and take a look at my swatches. I swatched them from left to right, top to bottom. And the first one is Pink Champagne. Next we have Peach Dusk, which is a matte shade. Fuchsia Flame. Hedonistic Rose, which is another matte shade. Scandalous. And Golden Honey. As far as I'm aware, all of these shades are brand new to this palette. None of these are repeats. Please correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section, but I believe all of these are new. So this palette is a total net weight of 12 grams, 0.42 ounces. I believe that's pretty much in line with all of her other 6-pan eyeshadow palettes. And then on the back, it says made in USA of US and imported ingredients. So for today's demo, I used 4 shades out of this palette. I used these 2 over here on the left and these 2 over here on the right. These 2 in here in the middle have a warmer peachy kind of tone. The rest of these, you know, are pretty cool. And then we have this gold, which I feel like, you know, works with pretty much any shadow, just kind of depending on how gold you want your look to be. But anyway, I digress. So I used those 4 shadows in this look. I played with this matte shade. This is the only shade that I have not actually played with yet. I did play with this matte shade. I have only used these shadows a couple of times now, just twice. And I have to say, I don't think these mattes are like other Pat McGrath mattes. A lot of the Pat McGrath mattes that are in her larger mothership palettes, I find them to be very silky and very smooth. And these have almost like a roughness to them, especially when you finger swatch them. And I thought, okay, well, finger swatching and feeling them with my finger really doesn't tell the whole story. But when I applied it, I mean, I think it applies fine. It's fine. The shadow performs fine. I just don't think it performs and feels as great as her big mothership matte shadows work and feel. Those to me are lovely shadows. And when I've had issues with her matte shades, I think in her La Vie en Rose palette, it was another 6-pan palette that came out when she first released these 6-pan palettes. It was like the subversive one. And I did not like the matte shadows in that one either. So I don't know if it's the colors. I don't know if it's this particular formula. How it's formulated, I don't know what the deal is, but I find these to be a little subpar compared to other Pat McGrath shadows. They work and they look fine. I just don't think, for me, in my experience with Pat McGrath shadows, I just don't think they're like up there with the other Pat McGrath larger eyeshadow palettes. And I love this Pink Champagne shade. I love this Fuchsia Flame shade. I mean, all of the metallics are very beautiful, but You know how the Pat McGrath metallics, or if you don't know, the Pat McGrath metallic shades, when they're not like the baked ones or whatever, they're really creamy and they're very opaque. They go on almost like a second skin. Like they're just really beautiful shadows. Of course, she has ones that are a little bit grittier than others. You know, they have like maybe larger chunks of glitter in there. She has like different formulas in her other palettes. I find these two especially to just be drier. I don't think that it necessarily is because they have larger chunks of glitter in there. You can see these are pretty just kind of straight up metal shades. There isn't a lot going on. This one is kind of duochrome. This one has like a nice kind of like golden reflect. But these two are just kind of straight up like metallic shades, and there's just something missing. They're just a little bit drier. And again, I haven't actually put this one on. It was just by touch. This one I actually used, and it's okay. Again, all of these shadows perform fine. I think they all look fine on the eyes. I don't think there was any like really problematic shades in here. That's not what I'm saying at all. I just don't think they're as good as other Pat McGrath shadows that I've used, which are phenomenal. The color story, I think, is very, very pretty, but it is pretty, you know, deep for my skin tone, which is fine. I have plenty of other palettes, you know, something like this Viseart matte neutrals if I'm looking for, you know, transition shade or just something to help me, you know, blow things out, whatever it is. So that's not a big problem for me, but I did just want to point that out, that even this lightest matte shade, it's a little bit deep. It's a little bit deep for me in terms of just using it as a transition. I feel like I need something just a little bit lighter to kind of help blow it out on my skin tone. I like that we have like these pinks and purples, and then we have these like peachy orange, like warmer shades. So we've got some like cooler, and then we've got some warmer, and yet, you know, of course, Pat McGrath magic, it all kind of like works really beautifully together. Like when I look at this palette, I don't think anything kind of like stands out like, ooh, like what is that shade doing in there? I don't have that reaction at all. This shade and this shade here, these are my two favorite shades in here. Like I said, the mattes are okay, and then I feel like there isn't anything terribly special about these two shades. There are a lot of gold metallic shades in Pat McGrath palettes, and then this one looks like one of her like coppery kind of metallic shades. So I really love these two because they're a little bit more unique, and this shade is so beautiful. It's like what I have on like my inner corners there. So for me, this is like the standout shade, and this is kind of like a close second. So I'm gonna go digging around in my collection to see if I can find any shades that are like similar to these. I'm gonna skip the gold because, like I said, there's so many golds, different golds of varying like strength in all of her palettes. So I'm gonna skip the gold. I'm really going to focus on this pink champagne, this color, and maybe these two mattes, just see if anything pops up. So I'll be right back. All right, I dug out some palettes, and I really don't see any kind of like direct dupes, but I do want to show you some comparisons. First, I just want to hold up the Divine Rose 2 Mothership 8 palette next to here, and you know, it's quite different. I feel like when I saw this, I thought, oh, this is just kind of like a 6-pan version of this palette, but it's not really. I think without that really bright pink in there, you really don't have like the look of the Divine Rose 2. But I did want to compare these 3 shades with the same position basically in this. So these 3 shades. So on the left, you'll see the 6-pan swatches, and then on the right, you'll see the Mothership 8 swatches. And I feel like the matte shades are actually very, very similar, even though they don't look very similar in the pan. There is quite a bit of a difference between the light shimmery shade. The one in the 6-pan palette is a little bit darker. The one in the Mothership 8 palette is much lighter and brighter. And then I took out the Golden Opulence 6-pan, and I feel like these two are maybe the most related to me. I feel like the Rose Decadence one is just kind of like a lighter, less neutral version of this palette, but the gold in the Golden Opulence is, you know, much more yellow. I think it's a lot brighter, but there's just, I don't know, there's just sort of like a similarity between the two, but I thought I would kind of do some swatch comparisons. So first, let's go ahead and compare this Fuchsia Flame color with this Lotus Luxe shade. So here is Fuchsia Flame, and here is Lotus Luxe. So yeah, you can see Fuchsia Flame is much more purpley, and I guess you could say cooler toned than the Lotus Luxe from the Golden Opulence 6-pan. And then here is Pink Champagne from the new 6-pan, and here is Moon Phase from Golden Opulence. I thought maybe they'd be a little bit similar, but not really. Again, this is much more kind of neutral, and it's deeper, obviously, and this is much lighter and pinkier. And then here is the Dark Galaxy one. This was part of that Star Wars collection. There were some in here that I thought maybe would be similar. So this Saturnalia color, this kind of like metallic red color, I just swatched that right on top. There's Fuchsia Flame from the Rose Decadence. And I mean, obviously it's gonna be it's gonna be a little bit different, but I just thought that would be a nice comparison. And then I swatched, here's Cosmics. This has such a beautiful kind of shift to it. And then here is that Cosmics shade over the pink champagne shade from the Rose Decadence palette. They're like a little bit more similar than I thought. This one actually has more like micro glitters and a little bit more of a duochrome shift. This is kind of more of like a straight up kind of like metallic foily shade, but kind of similar, at least when I look at it in the monitor. So those are all the shades that I found, you know, to be kind of interesting comparisons within the Pat McGrath family. But let's go ahead and jump into the demo of this eye look. All right, so I'm gonna start with Pink Champagne, the upper left-hand corner, and I've got my Sonia G Worker 1 brush. I am just going to brush this pretty much all over my lids, starting with the inner corner here. My AC just went on. A few of you have mentioned that you're hearing like a little bit of like buzzing or whatever in the background. It's my AC, and sorry, but it just went on and I was hoping it was gonna stay off at least for the tutorial part, but nope. It had to go on. There, beautiful shimmer. The name Pink Champagne really is very accurately descriptive for this color. Next, I'm going to take this matte shade. It's called Hedonistic Rose, and I'm going to grab this Chikuhodo GSN 9 brush. It's like a flat shader, and I grabbed this because it has squirrel hair. It's very, very soft, and while it picks up plenty of pigment, the application is a little bit softer than, say, like goat hair, so that's why I decided to go with this one, because the shade, it's the deepest one in the palette. So I just want to go very, very lightly. So I'm just going to apply this to the outer corner here and work it in. Just kind of use it to add dimension. Do you see that blending? It's like all in the brush. All in the brush. I want to do something pretty striking, so I'm gonna leave this like sharp edge, almost as if I put like some tape down. So I'm just gonna leave that edge really sharp, but I'm gonna blend the top out. All right, now I'm going to take this gold shade over here. It is called Golden Honey. It's bottom right hand corner, and again, I want like a light application. I kind of want it to be a little bit kind of like translucent. So I'm grabbing my Chikuhodo Z5. I always forget the number of this brush. It's not on the brush. I think it's Z5. Anyway, I'll link it down below in my description box if you're interested. But this is quite a fluffy, kind of big blender brush. Here, I'm going to hold it up next to the GSN 9 just so you can compare. So it's quite a bit wider and taller, or, you know, longer. But I just want like a really kind of like light wash of this gold color. So I'm just dipping into the pan just once, just to kind of pick up okay, maybe twice, just to pick up some of those flecks. And I want to just bring it kind of over that Hedonistic Rose, just to give it like a little bit of golden shimmer. I'm trying to play off like the little bit of gold you see in that Pink Champagne, just kind of carry it over. Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in here, just, you know, kind of get that goldness over the Hedonistic Rose. And do the same thing over here. Then I'm going to take my Refer number 3 brush. This is like a liner brush, and I'm going to go into Fuchsia Flame. It's the top right hand corner shade here. It has, you see that little bit of duochrome in there, and I am going to see if I can line my eyes with this. I don't know if it's deep enough, but we'll see. Maybe we can mix it in with that Hedonistic Rose. Well, it's definitely a very fun effect, but I don't know if it's actually like deepening up my lash line to kind of give me that depth that I like at the base of my lashes, but it's really cool looking, that's for sure. You know, I think this will work very nicely the lower lash line, so let's add it there. Oh yeah, that's fun. That is fun. I was afraid it may give me that kind of like sickly look, but there's enough like purple in there where I don't feel like it makes me look like I have pink eye. All right, I am gonna grab some of that Hedonistic Rose, which is that dark matte shade, and I am gonna run this over my lash line on the top here. I feel like I need some of this Fuchsia Flame on the outer corners there. So I'm just gonna grab that Chikuhodo GSN 9 brush again and just add a little bit of this here. I feel like once I added that to my lash line, it just made this Hedonistic Rose, it just looks really brown now. So I feel like adding some of this Fuchsia Flame will maybe make it a little bit more purpley pink again. Yeah, there it is with the Fuchsia Flame on top, and there it is without. But I think it helped a bit, so I'm going to do the same thing to this side. All right, so that's it for the eyeshadow. I think this look turned out pretty cool, I have to say. I was really afraid that the shadows, like the whole color story, was just going to be way too deep and dark. You know, if I was kind of not going for a very dark, smoky evening look, that the whole color story was going to be too dark. But I think that pink champagne really saved it for me. And it's so pretty. So, so pretty. So I'm just going to curl my eyelashes, add a little bit of mascara and lips, and I will be right back. All right, here is my final look. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.